Hi everyone and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Lisa. I'm from South Africa, a very, very hot Robertson at the moment. I had students this morning from Germany and it was 2 degrees and here it's like 37. So I think January, February is the most extreme for everyone. So welcome. You're welcome to say where you're from and say hi. How we will do it is we have about half an hour of slides and I'll go through all of that, and then the second half an hour I will answer as many questions as possible. Great. I already see someone from London, so welcome. Hi. And I will greet people as we go, and there are a couple of questions in this one. So let's get straight into it. All right. Hi. Okay. Good. So there are various terms associated with beginners. So it is important for you to be familiar with the terms. So what do we mean by beginner? If a student knows no English at all, apart from the odd word like hotel or taxi, something they've heard on TV, they are an absolute beginner. So they are starting from zero. They really don't know any English. But there's another kind of beginner. So, I'll go back actually. So these days it's highly unusual, not impossible, for students to know absolutely no English. Generally, someone has watched Harry Potter or everyone has Netflix. So they've heard something, they've heard some English somewhere. So there are universal words that almost every student knows, but I should have said that before. So it may be, well, that your beginner surprised you by knowing a little more than you had expected. So some students may have studied English in school. They might still be doing it in school. Or they did it in school when they were children, but they've forgotten most of it. So with some exposure to English again, as adults or years later, some of it comes back. So these students are called false beginners. So they're still beginners, but they're not real beginners. So real and false, but they are still all. So these false beginners are not starting from zero, but they're very close to it. So they know a few things. I think if you learned a second language at primary school, you probably can't remember much of it. Okay, excellent. So those are the two kinds of beginners you get. And it can seem a little scary at first to have some students marginally better than other students in your class. But remember to keep calm and carry on. The techniques that we're going to see and discuss in this webinar work for false beginners and real beginners. So don't worry, don't be tempted. Okay. So this is normal in your class. Just like if you have, at any stage, you might have advanced students in your class, and some are very advanced or some are slightly advanced. So don't panic. There will always be different levels of students in your class. And what we see today will be suitable for both categories of beginner. Okay. And don't be tempted to keep, this I can so imagine, don't be tempted to pitch your lesson at the ones who know a bit more, the ones who are your star students. So don't pitch your lesson at the star students, because then you might alienate the majority of the class who will feel that they can't understand and they can't keep up. I see lots of other people have come. I will not chat about now, but hi, some other South Africans. We're all hot. And from London, I know we are all hot. And some of us have droughts. Anyway, I'm going to get distracted. So, it's important for you to put yourself in your beginner student's shoes for a moment to understand some of what they might be feeling. So how might a beginner feel in class? Excited, eager, but also nervous, overwhelmed, self-conscious, extremely self-critical, depending on the age, of course. Younger students will be more on the eager and excited and a bit nervous, but maybe older students will be a little self-conscious. An adult, who is a business student, but who want to learn English for business, but they are at a low level, might be very self-critical and self-conscious. Okay. especially for adult students, learning from scratch can be a very confronting experience. Perhaps they're stressed because they need English for work. Maybe they don't really want to be there, but feel obliged to learn it. Perhaps they feel terrified of looking foolish or making mistakes in front of you and the other students. Maybe they are overwhelmed after 10 minutes and experience mental block. Or maybe a student who's being forced by their parents to learn English, and they're really, maybe a teenage student, they're not into it. So all of these feelings that the students might have are completely natural and are very rarely a reflection on you as a teacher. So don't take it personally. Don't panic if you feel some negativity coming at you at first. It's not you, it's them. So when you are a beginner, there are lots of things you are dealing with. So try your very best to remain upbeat, patient, and supportive at all times. So what can we do to counteract these negative feelings? Luckily, lots of things. As well as maintaining your positive, upbeat demeanor, you can. Okay, go to the next slide. Okay. Where's that? There we go. How do we make it feel? As well as being positive and upbeat, keep your TTT to an absolute minimum. Quick. So if you know what TTT is, you can write it in the chat. There are 2 questions here, and scaffold continuously. So there are 2 questions. So firstly, if anyone would like to answer what TTT stands for, you are welcome to write it in the chat. And you are also welcome to say what scaffolding refers to within an EFL class. So I'm going to give you a teach, test, teach, test. So it can stand for test, teach, test, but there's something else. Hi, greeting. That is a tongue twister. Test, teach, test can also stand for something else. That's not teacher. It says, is the session frozen at the moment or is my computer glitching? Why am I so tongue-tied? I hope it isn't. Okay, someone else is working, so thank you. And I didn't see it from my side. Okay, so TTT can stand for teacher talk time, which I think sometimes with a beginner, the teacher is so desperate for the students to understand that they just explain and talk and talk and talk. And what we need to do and be aware of at all times is to keep our teacher talk time to an absolute minimum. Okay, someone needs to refresh. I get distracted by all of these. Okay, so TTT is teacher talk time. Scaffold continuously. All right, so scaffolding, I'm sure some of you who are doing assignments, specifically some of the grammar ones, and in the freer practice stage, and in the controlled practice stage, the tutors might say to you, you need more scaffolding. So just like actual scaffolding, a scaffold will be holding up a building while they renovate it, or holding up a wall while they build around it. So scaffolding is support that you offer to the students that holds them up while they speak. Yes, it's exactly that. I didn't read that, so I hope that came out properly. I think there might be a proper definition here. I'll get to it here. Okay. Especially giving instructions. Okay. So yes, so let's go back for a moment to TTT, so teacher talk time. If you are giving instructions, you need to not give too many all at once. If your students only know 7 words and you give them a set of instructions that's a whole paragraph, that are going to be grasping and not know what on earth is going on. So really be very aware of how much you speak and the sentences, the length of the sentences. Scaffold continuously. Okay. So reading all the slides that are. Okay. But they've got lots of notes here. So I'll get into all of these in more detail. Say scaffold is to give support as you teach the whole way through, always. Set well-graded tasks, so don't set tasks that are too difficult for your students because that will send them into a complete spin, and use lots and lots and lots of visual aids. So pictures, videos, posters, and even mime and facial expression. So having things that are not words to support all the words are things you need to do the whole time. So those 4 points that I just mentioned, we will now look at in more detail. Okay, so here's more on the TTT. Short, simple, relevant sentences. So often, again, you will have done this in your assignments. You have to give instructions for a task. So if you give a whole long story, everyone come in, sit down, take out your pens, find the worksheet, fill in just the first 4 questions. Students are like, what on earth? So small, little, short things. Come inside. Everyone comes inside. Sit down. Everyone sits down. So really keep explanations concise, simple, and support your words with body language. Body language. So come inside. Everyone sit down. Take out your books. Take out your pencils. All of that kind of thing. And like, is everyone ready? And start. So just small, short sentences so that you know, so you can also keep track on what is going on. Is everyone following you? Do they know what's going on? Okay. Scaffolding. So now here we have more scaffolding. In this context means support. So clear instructions with demonstrations. So if it is a gap fill worksheet, for instance, is already scaffolded because the students have to only fill in 2 words. The rest of the words and the rest of the sentence is the scaffold. So it holds together the sentence and they just have to fill in the words. So that is a scaffolded exercise. So it really, that is as basic as it is, what we mean by this. So monitor constantly to spot students who are struggling and offer support. Use task prompts such as sentence stems. So also if you're having a freer practice stage and you say, and it's past tense, I was walking or I walked, then I saw. And if you give a starter sentence, at least the student has a place to start. They have something to grip onto and hold onto to help them find their way. So that's one of the means of scaffolding. Here's some more. Model new language carefully. So if you have a new grammar point or new vocabulary, and model it so you say it. If it is a sentence they're learning, he played with the ball, then you say it. You say it slowly. Allow ample processing time. Also, you know that students are perhaps translating your instructions into their own language, then thinking it through, then translating it back again. So it's a lot of steps that are going around in your students' minds. Again, use visuals whenever possible to support comprehension. So use your body language, gestures. The more you can support your students, the better. And integrate pair and group work. So sometimes you have a one-to-one class, so you can't, so it's one. But if the students are talking in pairs, then they won't feel as self-conscious. And if they're in a whole group, they also won't feel as self-conscious. So especially speaking tasks, if you split the class in 2, in half, or in pairs. So all things that you can do. So set well-graded tasks. Tasks must be simple and achievable. If they're too hard, then your students won't be able to achieve them. And then they'll feel like they're failing, which will be very sad. Keep your task wording short and uncluttered. So don't talk nonsense like I do now. Short phrases, little things, use keywords. Don't waffle like I do. It's very hard. If you are the kind of person who talks all the time, to keep it down. Use the target language as much as possible. Of course, again, for those of you doing assignments, not in the warmer. So don't use the target language in the warmer. That is when you are eliciting. But as soon as in the presentation stage and from then on, then you use it as much as possible. Okay. Avoid using language that is too difficult. Yes, so lots of descriptions that are too hard. I think when you start out, a script, just like you do in your teacher language section, so that you can even check what level the words are that you're using. You can check vocab kitchen to check the level of your words. And scaffold again by doing an example yourself first. So if it's a gapful worksheet or a matching clauses kind of thing, if you do one, then it will be easier for your students to do the next one. Whether they are children or adults, it is all the same. Okay. So the tasks must be achievable. And if you find a task that you've chosen as too easy for them, or if a student finishes before the others do, you can easily add some extra things. So if one student is a little bit more advanced, you can always add some extra things. And if the whole task is too easy, that's also fine. Then move on to the next point or the next element of your lesson. Examples of tasks. So here are some examples of things. Matching lexical items to pictures. So if they are kids, we've got nouns, we've got animals. So you go, lists of animals and the picture and the word, or basic verbs, sit, stand, dance, that kind of thing. You see lots of it, especially for children. And then for adults, it's the pictures are not, you might get something like, well, a video where you're learning something like greetings, where there'll be, people shaking hands, and it's how are you? So that even adults at the beginner level, there are pictures, even that are suitable for adults too. I'm just thinking of lessons I've done where there are lots of pictures of people meeting each other or people asking for directions, that kind of picture, where you're learning basic phrases. The pictures will be useful there as well. Doing simple gap fills that we've talked about for target language accuracy. And it's such a useful thing, because you can use it for grammar, you can use it for vocabulary, you can use them for anything. Just make sure, and again, I almost go back to assignments, make sure that the gap that you leave is what you are testing and teaching. If you're doing a gap fill for grammar and then all the gaps are for nouns and they're supposed to be for verbs, then it will not be suitable. So just keep that in mind. Having guided conversations with sentence stems. So sentence stems are the beginnings of sentence that I've mentioned before. So I was, they were, or things like, if it rains, I will, or he was swimming when it exploded. So all of those are sentence stems. You also can get sentence frames. Sentence frames are another way so it will be, if it's, for instance, first conditional will be if, and then the will be the frame, and you can write it up on the board, on the whiteboard, will be a sentence frame. Sentence stems are the beginning part of the sentence. It will grow from there. Short interviews to practice question formation. So, gestures, that's that one. I'm just looking. Often as teachers, we have a course book, but often we adapt the course book to make them more suitable. So maybe it's a bit too advanced, so we have to make it simpler or shorter, or sometimes it's not advanced enough, we have to add in extra questions or take some out. So when you are putting your tasks together and you have some coursework, always know that you can swap it around. You don't have to, it's not the gospel truth, your course book. You can always adapt it. Okay. Visual aids. So posters, pictures, drawings. You can even draw things on the board. Then there's another word, realia. If anyone knows what that is, they can also post it in the chat. And I will wait a moment. So if you know what that is, it's a funny word. I didn't even know what it was till not that recently, but recent, only a few years ago. So if anyone knows what realia means, it's a funny, strange word. And if you write it, it will get underlined because Word doesn't even think it's a real word. Okay, they know people who know what realia is. What I always knew what it was, I just didn't know that term. So realia is like a prop. Okay, lovely. Thank you, Hazel. Hazel, the hive. Okay, that's a funny thing. Funny name you have there. Hazel, thank you. Real things and objects related to the topic that you are teaching. Absolutely. So if you are teaching clothes, you can actually bring in some clothes. You don't have to only have pictures. And I mean, especially if it's kids, there's nothing more fun than dress up, as you know, bringing in real objects to talk about. So real objects, props. So if you setting up a theme of winter, you can bring in hats and scarves and umbrellas and gloves, and it's a great way of making the class more fun and just adding a little bit of real stuff to it. So gestures, body language, facial expressions. So, if I think for adjectives and for emotions, your face is the most, like scared and happy and excited. So facial expressions will definitely work the most for that. I was teaching somebody the other day and couldn't explain until I went, was shocked. So he was like, okay, then he got it immediately. So that works. It works. Very nice comment there. I'll add it for everyone, especially if there's a cultural aspect to the topic. Lovely comment. Lovely. 100%. That is great. Thank you. Okay. Posters on the wall, that kind of thing you expect more for kids, which it often is kids. And so, and then also saying, how do you say what in English? So if you have posters, how do you say this? How can you spell that? Graphic organizers for tasks. Charts, tables, mind maps, spidergrams can also, all of that kind of thing on the wall. And videos. Videos are also great. Sometimes you get teaching videos that are specifically for a lesson. Sometimes you just find something fun, something non-verbal that you can use for absolute beginners. I think non-verbal is the way to go. I often think Mr. Bean is one of the best. Is completely non-verbal and speaks to so many people wherever you're from. It's a fun thing. You could use that kind of thing in a class. I can't think of a specific example, but it's non-verbal, so you could use it. Okay. Some more teaching, more tips. So again, modeling. So always say it first. Don't talk for too long, but if you, specifically for pronunciation, so you say, he was excited, they were excited, then if you hear it, you can repeat it back. And drilling as well. So drilling is when you have a grammar thing would work. So if it was first conditional or second conditional and you repeat it all together, it's then you're not embarrassed because everyone in the whole class is doing it. So it works, drilling. So modeling is when you do it once that everyone can see. Drilling is when you get the whole class to do it again, almost like timetables from the past. 2 times 2 is 4. That's drilling. Okay. For those who didn't know, it's old-fashioned in a way. Make your class an English-only zone, especially if, for different reasons. You might have a class where students are from all over the world, in which case the only language they can communicate is English, or you have a class and they are all from one country, and then it's too easy for them to just slip into their first language and not speak English. So for everyone, it's better to have an English-only zone. and enjoy yourself. Teaching beginners is uniquely rewarding because you are the person who is teaching someone a language. You are their first step into learning a whole language. We don't remember how we learned to speak our first language. For anyone who speaks or has learned a second language, you will always remember that teacher and what they said and their accent. You will always remember that. So it's it's an amazing thing as teachers. And when you are teaching beginners, you really are the first person who will be teaching those people how to speak English. So it is uniquely rewarding. Lovely. I think we've got through, yes, all of the slides. I hope I wasn't talking too much here and there and back and forth. So if anyone has any questions now, we have plenty of time to ask any questions. I will also go through all the comments from before and say hi properly and get chatting. Okay, because there were lots of comments. I didn't get into them because I then get completely distracted. So hi from London, hi, hello. More people from London and from South Africa, and more from South Africa, and South Africa, and South Africa. Okay, greetings. Okay. Scaffolding, we chatted, and realia. Okay. Very, very good question. Even if they don't speak any English, should we make the class only English? Well, I'm just thinking, if you are teaching a whole class of Japanese students, and you are me, for instance, I don't know a single word in Japanese, so it would have to be only in English. So, yes, you really do need to. So even if I think it would be broken English, but it will be little tiny strips of English and all your supporting pictures and gestures. But yes, I really do think so. If you are a second language English speaker and you are teaching German students and you are also German, then I'm sure it would be very tempting to switch languages. But I think frequently when one teaches English to people who speak another language that you don't know anything about. So, and you have to sometimes teach beginners. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge. But I think that persevere, step by step, just little baby steps, step by little step. But great question. Another great question here. How do you introduce grammar to beginners? So depending on the age, if they are little kids who are beginners, I don't even necessarily think you need to say, we are going to learn the past tense, but you will just say things like, I stand up, we stand up, I sit down, and then you're doing some past tense and I sat down, and it was before. So I think you just, obviously if it's older students, then you would explain that we need to sometimes say that things happened, and you just step by tiny little step. Again, it's a challenge, but you do have to teach grammar to beginners, even if you don't announce it. Okay, excellent question. Hi from Cape Town. Used to live in Cape Town. Excellent. I was particularly worried about teaching complete beginners since I was learning German at school. The teacher was entirely fluent in English and could translate for us. Completely. I learned French at school for a few years, and the teacher was English. So we did learn French in English. I even learned, for all of those South Africans, I learned Afrikaans in English. So a lot of people who learn a second language do learn it in their first language. Which, I mean, that's another way. It is another way. But I think nowadays with TEFL, because there are so many people teaching English to foreign people. It's different. I think that you don't have to know the first language, and so it's different. But yes, completely. I think many of us learned a second language in English. I certainly did. I remember my 5 lines in French that I learned, but from an English-speaking person. Great question. I don't think there isn't really a correct answer. Just be aware of it. Just like think about it and keep it in your head and know that happens. Okay, excellent question. How do you split your attention between higher and lower level students that are making either group feel overlooked? That is a great question. I think group work and pair work is useful. So they're different things. So you could do higher and lower level students and pair them up so that the higher level can teach the lower level a little bit. That's one way. If you had, say, 12 kids in the class, you would see them again and again and again. So you can mix and match. So it doesn't have to be just that you always do that. So you will mix and match. So probably sometimes you can have a lower level group who are working on something that is slightly easier and a higher level group. And sometimes I think you mix them so that you can try and find a kind of a balance. But it's, again, something that the more you teach, you do it once, then you think, oh, that worked, or no, not at all. So work through it, see what works, see what was like, oh, that was brilliant, and maybe not so much. So, but you can do both. You can do both. Just make sure that you keep the ones who are. Sometimes one gets more distracted by the lower level ones because they need more attention, and the higher level ones you don't even get to them because they're doing so well. So that also can happen. So yes, you have to just balance. And as I say, mix and match. So you sometimes split them, sometimes mix them. Great question. And something that, again, there's no 100% that is the answer. It's just something you work with, think about. But excellent question. How do you introduce grammar to a beginner and when? Yeah, we sort of mentioned it a little bit before, but baby steps, small things. You learn prepositions. Prepositions, for instance, are so simple and yet so hard. And you have to, I think that when you start and you've got in and under and next to, which we've all taught a kid and you've done that, and there's a lovely picture of where is the dog, under the bed, on the bed, between the beds. That's grammar. So you start prepositions, and I remember battling with second language prepositions as a child. A voorzetsel just threw me. Even now, a million years later, I'm like, I get like a little bit of a flutter when I even think of a voorzetsel, because you hang a prentjie teen die muur. Like, why on earth do you hang it against a wall, not on the wall? So whatever language, there's like little things you will teach. Prepositions in every language you'll be teaching, and you can't speak without them. And past tense and plural and singular. So even those tiny things, that's grammar. So you will be teaching it. You're teaching it from the moment you start. You can't only learn vocabulary. From the moment you have one sentence, you are teaching grammar. Just easy grammar. Excellent. Hi, other students from South Africa. Beautiful, lovely question. How could you go about teaching someone English online to someone you can talk to in a different language? Interesting. Very interesting. I think you need to balance it. Sometimes it's useful. Sometimes it's very useful. Sometimes even just making a connection with a student in their first language is helpful. Like, I have a German student I taught today who's a beginner, and we had the ch sound. I just noticed 3 of the words all had the ch sound, and he battled with saying the ch sound. And I thought, it's because in German, ch is sh or like ah, not like Scottish. It's a sound. Anyway, what doesn't mean anything. But I thought, okay, and when I asked him what sound does that make in German, which means nothing for the lesson, but he then had a connection to the ch sound. So yeah, if you can find a connection, and if someone you can talk to, if you are Italian but you are fluent in English and you're teaching English to an Italian, then yes, being able to converse in a different first language will be helpful. It's not the hard and fast rule to keep your class English. I think that's if it's a whole class. If you are teaching one-to-one, that can be helpful. But obviously then if you're teaching speaking, make sure you don't slip into it every single time, because then it's not cheating, but it's sort of cheating. It's not cheating, but so be wary of that. Don't use it too often. Remember, you're teaching English, but it obviously is very useful. Obviously. Yeah, I taught Vietnamese students before, not at the moment, and I know nothing. I think I knew like 4 words. Over a long period, I learned about 4 words, which are of no use to anyone. So there was no choice. You just had to. Even with the absolute beginners, you just had to carry on, keep calm and carry on. All right. But excellent question. I'm sure other people feel that as well and come across that. Lovely. Which has more money between teaching beginners, teenagers, and adults? Like, how much making money? It depends. If you get a job teaching for a school, then you might teach students at every level. I have taught students at every level for different schools. And then you earn the exact same amount of money. I'm not sure. I don't think there's a hard and fast rule. Basically, if you can get a job teaching at a school, so if you go overseas and teach at a school, sometimes if you teach little kids, you might get paid less than if you're teaching business English, for instance, but not necessarily. So there's no hard and fast rule. Okay, but good question. Thank you. All right. Lovely question. Teaching my first class on Monday. I'm not sure what topic to choose. I just start by testing what they know, or greetings, animals, colors. Well, it depends. Obviously, they're children. If they're children, animals' colors are fun. I love animals, so I always love animal things, and you can even make noises of animals, which is not a language, but everyone can make a noise of an animal, and you can all get involved. But obviously, you might get a group of kids. I don't know if you know they are beginners. You might get young kids and they're actually very advanced. Sometimes some of the most advanced students I've ever had, like one little kid was 6, and wow. So it depends. It depends. But I think with any first class, have a bunch of stuff. I would think, like, imagine you've got a bag full of stuff. So you've got all your lessons, you've got animals, you've got colors, you've got shapes, you've got prepositions, and then, like, if that doesn't work, on to the next thing. Didn't work, next thing. So I think just be prepared with a lot of stuff. You can never have too. I mean, if you send in, I do mark assignments. That's why I always go back to the assignments. But I also think, since you are writing assignments, I do try and make that you make the links. When you send in an assignment and your materials, pick interesting materials that, like, pick the best material. Don't just send in random stuff. But if you have a class on Monday and it's your first class, have your bunch of materials. It's not an assignment. So if you have 8 things that are on the ready, you could use any of them. So just have more than you need, so that you can use your like plan B and plan C. Have enough. Okay, lovely question. Thank you. Where there are less advanced kids, do you think that intervention and additional classes would be possible? Not a hard and fast rule. If you teach at a school, online or there, then that might be that they come every day. There might be kids that come every single day for an hour for English class. Or maybe the kids come only on a Monday afternoon. So it really depends. It really depends. If there's someone who's really struggling, you could, if you're working for a school, you could suggest it and say, this child is really battling. Could we have a bit of extra time? But it depends. You might have a class of 20 children and they must just and it's more like school. So it depends. It may be possible. Or if you have online classes or a private student, or maybe you could offer that student private classes. So there are different ways. Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, I've been working with them for a few months. I just don't teach them now. 5 to 12-year-olds. That is a big group. That's quite a challenge. 5 to 12-year-olds, just because within that, the age and the level, there might also be different levels and ages. I would try and group them in ages to start off with, because a 5-year-old and a 12-year-old are just so different, so different in how they deal with things. Obviously you can have brothers and sisters that get on like that, but tough one. This is a challenge. So I think, something like animals, it's universal. So little kids, so 12-year-olds like monkeys just as much as 5-year-olds, and cats. So animals are great, and colors are great, because even the older ones, even if they're still beginners, you can make a little bit more advanced. Good luck. That's a challenge, especially just 5-year-olds and 12-year-olds are so different. This is the kind of thing we all have. There's so many different kinds of classes you will come across, in an actual classroom or online, that are so many different scenarios you will come across as a TEFL teacher. Always fun though, and always something new. Thank you. All right. Currently doing Italian, but I want to know if I could use this to my advantage. Overwhelmed. It is overwhelming. Yes. If you can say some fun sentence and get everyone involved, anything you can use with kids to your advantage to put you at ease, yes. I often, over the years of teaching children in various different ways, like if you find out what do kids love at the moment, what toys do they like, what movies do they like, what music do they like, because it's quite universal. Like my niece and nephew like the same stuff as the Vietnamese kids that I was teaching. They like the same things. My niece and nephew here in Cape Town, So it's quite universal. So a bit of their own language will be helpful a little bit, and find out what do they like. What are those creepy dolls you buy? And I mean, I think it's even over now. Most kids like capybaras at the moment. Doesn't matter where you come from, they all like capybaras. I've liked capybaras for years. And they like those creepy dolls with like that. And then there's some other children who like the skibbity toilet. I don't even know what it is. You just go, okay. So, and kids like games. So find out any inroad that you can find with children. Find it, because it will be helpful. And it will, if you have an inroad, and if it is a couple of lines in their first language, and it is helpful, definitely, I would definitely not say you're not allowed. The English, keep an English class, yes, when you are teaching and learning. But if you have to slip out of it here and there, you won't get fined. It's not illegal. It's just, remember that you're teaching English and that is the first priority. But anything you can find that is useful to you, whether you're teaching kids or adults, yes. Just say yes. Lovely. Excellent question. I live in the UK and visit SA regularly. It's easy to get a job there in a school. In a language school or a school. So language school, there are quite a lot. My sister did this many years ago and taught at language schools. A lot of, because Cape Town is overrun with people from, not overrun, but it's such a popular tourist destination that a lot of people do come from other countries to learn English in South Africa. So there are quite a lot of language schools in Cape Town. I don't think there aren't that many language schools right throughout South Africa. Mainly in, I'd say Joburg, you would probably find some, and Cape Town. I don't think, you wouldn't, maybe Durban. But it's not everywhere. Not everywhere. So, and school, actual school, if you have a teaching degree, then yes, there are loads and loads of schools in Cape Town, hundreds, thousands, millions, where people do learn English as well. But then you just need your degree, teaching degree. Okay, very nice. So I can't answer that 100%, but there are some language schools, and then obviously I think a lot of South Africans go overseas because English is one of the 11 official languages. So a lot of South Africans do go to Thailand or Peru or Italy to teach, which is also fun. And then there are lots of jobs that if you are here that you could do online from wherever you are in the world. Lovely. Okay. Can TEFL teachers give English classes to special needs children? Absolutely. I mean, you would need to have that experience with teaching special needs children, but I certainly think that nowadays, if they're physically special needs, absolutely. And then if there's ADHD and autism and that kind of thing, if you are, if you know more about teaching special needs children, then you can also teach English to special needs children, 100%. Everyone can learn everything. And if you have the experience with working with special needs children, then you can definitely give English classes to them. Read so much about schools around the world where special needs children are not looked after, or within a regular class looked after. So it is, in the future, more and more people need to be ready to give whatever classes to special needs children. So yes, great question. I love all these questions. I am a Sunday school teacher and have a little girl from India. She understands English I have to teach her all her prayers in English, as she only knows them in Tamil. How can I go about this? I think little bit, a few lines at a time, And if you can, I mean, translating is helpful. So maybe a little bit that is translated, and then some that you learn the rhythm of a new language. So I think maybe a brief translation, but don't focus just on the translation. Focus on the lines in the English version, and just in line by line, gently. Lovely. Okay, thank you. All right. Go-to strategy for keeping students engaged and motivated in a classroom, especially when they seem tired or distracted. I mean, I think that is every teacher's changing the energy and the level of your own voice is helpful. So we've been working, and go, and everyone, let's get up. Change the dynamic. So everyone stand up and touch the ceiling and touch your toes. Deep breath in, and we carry on. Like, that's fun. Or make sure that you have different activities in the class. So some are physical, maybe pair work, and the children actually, I can just imagine now other students. You get them to move desks so that you could lose half an hour there. But changing the energy, so moving around, or just doing some other activity that's maybe a little bit more physical, or a game. Have that, a couple of games in your pocket as well. That bag full of activities that you have, keep some games in there as well. Games are like short activities that just distraction. I always think like animals, cats, when they're destroying your house, you distract them by another game. Children, if they're bored, you distract them by something else. Babies, they're crying, you distract them. Distraction is the best tool. So just have your stuff ready, your game, your activity, your exercise, that you can replace what they're doing with something new and something fresh. Always keep the levels up and down. I say this as if I have done it. Well, I suppose I do, but sometimes you're like, oh, I don't know how. But if you have something that kids like to do every lesson, they love routine. So if there's a routine in the beginning, and then so they know that they're going to do this, and this, that's very useful. They know what happens at the beginning of the lesson and what happens in the middle of the lesson and the end. That's actually, it goes against what I just said. Kids in particular, actually, and adults, people like a routine. They like to feel safe. So having a structure to your lesson, so a PPP lesson, keeps everyone safe. So absolutely. But if within that you're losing them, that's when you go wild, do something else for a moment, and then come back. So not replacing the real teaching with something wild, but just if you need to just bring them back. That is my advice. And I do that. I always do that. Okay, thank you. Here's another great question. How long would you say you should apply TTT to in each lesson? Okay, one always wants the students to talk more than the teacher. Just did a lesson today, and then it actually tells you how much the student spoke and how much the teacher spoke. And you're like, oh no, I failed. But it was better than before. So that's always something you work towards. It's hard. It's very hard, because we also do have to explain. And there are things that we do have to say. So yes, we have to. But just be aware of it. Keep it there. Don't talk too much. As I can hear, I always say, don't talk too much, but I am the only one talking, so I have to. But just be aware. Always be aware. Am I talking too much? Have I explained one thing 15 times? Like, no. Let them give it over. Hand it. Let them try it out. And you have to just like, right. Okay. Lovely question. I always say thank you, but they are all great questions. Thank you. Thank you. And it's so chatty. So many questions. Yay. UAE have internships for beginner teacher. I actually don't know. I know a million years ago, again, my sister did teach in Dubai for beginner teachers. So perhaps. I really don't know though. Google or even Ecosia, which is the one that's like Google, but every time you search, you plant trees. So you save the planet and search. Nothing against Google, but there's Ecosia too. But find out, I don't know the answer to that. So I would search for that. Great question. Do you think it's more practical to teach online or in a physical class? I think that, especially since COVID, there are so many online things, and it has opened the world up to us, to so many people who don't have the wherewithal to travel or go somewhere, or they're too old or whatever. So I think that there are pros and cons to both. I think that they're both equally valid. Yeah, being in a real classroom with real kids or real grown-ups is great and traditional and wonderful. But the fact that we can sit in our own houses or even in a restaurant across the world and teach someone in another country is astounding, and it's amazing. So I think they are all great and practical. Yeah, I mean, if you are at an actual school, then you literally have to have your bag with your laptop in it and all your lessons, or your bits of paper or your photostats that you're going to give to kids. If you're sitting at your desk, you can Google or Ecosia anything and just go, oh look, share, which is so easy. But then there's, you can teach some students who their parents made them take lessons and they're not interested at all, and they're like going through the motions. So it so depends. You can teach someone across the world and they listen to everything you say and soak it up like a sponge. And you could teach someone at an actual classroom who's not interested at all. So there are really pros and cons for everything. All right, here is a great piece of advice from a fellow student. If you can't find a formal internship, you might want to look for volunteering opportunities, which is brilliant. Absolutely, 100%. I have a friend who's just done some volunteer teaching with students in Ukraine. Then there are all sorts of great things that you can do like that. So there are volunteering opportunities around the world from your laptop. So 100% brilliant. There in South Africa, you can, it's not exactly the same, but you can help students with their reading online, which is also volunteering, which is great. So you can help kids some in Cape Town, some in Joburg, some in somewhere else, but you can go online and it's not actually video, it's just listening, and help kids read. So, which I think would also be useful experience before you ever get a job. Thank you. Great advice. Thank you. We're almost running out of time here. Can you interchange between TTT and student time? Do you think doing the activities with the kids will motivate them more and make it less overwhelming for them? I think if the activities are fun and interesting and exciting, and that in group work as well, then it shouldn't be so overwhelming. I think if you stand people up and they have to speak or do something alone would be overwhelming. But I think if everyone does the activities together and that the activities are fun, then I think it will motivate them and be less overwhelming. Thank you. Great question again. And I actually see we have run out of time. So there are one or two things I must quickly say. So yes, firstly, all of the previous webinars are available on the TTA YouTube channel in the video section. So if you go to the TTA YouTube page and go to videos, click, then you can find videos for the last few years. There are videos for all of your assignments. So there's L3B and L5C, and teaching beginners and teaching advanced students and teaching overseas and all sorts. There are loads of very useful webinars. So I hope, so go and find those. This one will also be online soon. Then thank you for attending. Thank you for all your excellent questions and for making this so much fun. I always get so much advice from you guys as well. I always think that we share, as teachers, we share experience and advice, and that every day we teach, we learn ourselves as well. So thank you. Then also, if you don't mind, staying for an extra minute after this and going to the SurveyMonkey and telling us what you thought of this webinar. So there's a link at the top as well, that as well. So you either can use the QR code or just go to the link and say what, if you thought this was useful at all, if you enjoyed it, if you think that you wish we would do some webinars on something else, let us know. Thank you. And enjoy the rest of your day, evening, night, depending on where you are in the world. And thank you. Good luck for your assignments. Good luck for your teaching. And keep strong with the weather wherever you are. I'll just say it's so hot here. So thank you. And good night.